Happy birthday!
Hey.
Oh, there's a bit of smoke coming out of my party popper. Hello everybody and welcome to our 5th birthday. We are really excited to be here for this webinar and to share with you lots of news and remembering back from when we first started, but also looking to the future. We're really happy to be here and thank you for joining us. We've just been amazed how many people have signed up, so we love that. Vivian, tell us how it all started.
How it all started. I think it started in my memory with me and several others ranting on Twitter about some of the data that had come out for women-led leaders and the lack of representation proportionately. So we spent an International Women's Day weekend ranting, and I believe it was Kezia that then said, we should have a little tea party. So we've had lots of tea parties since then. And all we ever intended to do was give women a voice on Twitter because they were being silenced by lots of big hitters, brackets, male on Twitter. So that's all we set out to do on this, 5 years ago in that way. And it is just amazing what the whole women-led community has done with it since then.
I wanted to share some pictures. So I did wonder though, there might be a few people here that don't know us. So I'm going to ask you all to oh sorry, this is my, hang on a minute.
Jules leads Women-Led Tech.
Yeah, all right, thanks very much.
Come on, Jules.
We are so pleased it happens to Jules and not us.
Yeah. I'm staying calm, have you noticed?
Yeah.
Right, so I'd love you all to introduce yourselves. This is, for everybody, this is us.
Hello.
Hello. Kezia's the one with that incredible necklace on. Oh, sorry, actually not Kezia, Wild Wench Featherstone. And so we should go through. So this is a picture of, we've got Alison.
Hello.
Liz.
Hi, cheers.
We've got, also in blue. You've actually haven't changed your outfit, Liz.
I have a different one. I put it on earlier and I didn't realise you put that picture up. It looks like I've only got one outfit.
No, it's an amazing colour, love it. And then I'm Jules Dorby, Miscreant is my middle name, and Vivian.
I'm Queen Vivian, apparently. Can you tell the resemblance? Can you tell the resemblance?
Yeah, so this is we are the strategic leads for Women Ed, but I wanted to just mention a few other people. So a lot of people might remember these pictures. The one on the left there is a night, and it has the lovely Natalie, Hannah and Helena, who were the original co-founders with us. So I thought it was really important to get that picture in. And one of my favourite pictures, which was used when we were, what were we voted? We were definitely voted in the top 10 influencers, weren't we?
Top 10
Yes, we were.
Education by the TAS.
Yeah, so, and we were really chuffed with that. And that's the picture. And it has Sam from Sheffield University there, Jo Miller, who is now somewhere else, isn't she?
Yeah, in New Zealand.
In New Zealand. And Jackie, wasn't it? So that was a lovely picture of our Sheffield unconference. And then here's some of our influencers. There's Jazz there on the left, who is at one of our unconferences. The wonderful Sue Cowley, who we all have to give a big thank you to, because Sue was the one, remember that first unconference 5 years ago, where she introduced us to the concept of 10% braver. And she sang Woman Hear Me Roar. And I always remember because she said, oh, I hate singing in public. And someone said, do it. Was it you?
It was me.
And Vivian said, do it. And so she sang to the whole crowd at our on-conference. And she was definitely 10% braver for doing that. And it's really, we'll hear through, but Thames Ever has become the thing, hasn't it? Which is fantastic. And then just there, you might wonder why I've done that picture, but it's one of my favourite pictures. I like the lines and the colours, but it is the incredible Jill Berry there in the back, who did a wonderful talk for us at our first unconference. And I like to think that all those chairs are now full of women leaders from the influence of Women Ed and Jill as well. So that was just a few little remember. I was going back a bit nostalgic, going back into how Women Ed has been. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, though, and so I'll just again love to say happy birthday to everybody. Does anybody want to mention anything before we go on to Alison, who's going to talk to us first? Alison, I think it's over to you.
Me? Hello. Well, I think we should start off by blowing out some candles collectively. So you're ready? So here we go. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday. I'm not allowed to say.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday to us. Ready? Blow. Brilliant. Now I've just got a whole cream cake to eat on my own. Okay, so I'm really, really happy to be here today. And I'm hoping my share screen's going to work. And it's not, Jules. Jules?
Yeah, I'm here. I have stopped sharing. So,
now I can see it.
Yeah.
Which one is it? There we are.
Carry on. Are you okay?
Yeah. Okay, so, no, wrong one. I'm going to stop share and then start share again.
Yeah.
You're eating cake. Work out which one it is. That one. I'm really not the best techie person in the world, am I? Right, so we're going to start off with a mentee exercise for everybody to take part in. So if you can get your mobile phones out and you go onto www.mentee.com and then use the code 668856 and you type in what Women Ed has done for you, we'll capture all of your words. We know we've had some really, really wonderful videos. Thank you so much for sharing them. And I've been uploading them yesterday and today, and I think I'll be sharing them through the week. So we've already got lots of really wonderful videos, but if you can join in now and share some thoughts that you've got today, then we'll be able to hopefully see those coming up. There we go. Hey, it's working. Look at that. That's fantastic. That's really humbling to see. Can everybody see that?
That's great.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's really beautiful. Thank you. Keep going because we'll collect them through the day, through the party, and at some point it'll all be printed. I'll get it all and I'll be able to share it with everybody. Well, I'm not sure how we share it, but I'll definitely have it up by email and we'll find a way. Well, maybe we could put it on the website. But this is really, really wonderful. So thank you very much. First of all, happy birthday to us. And it's really exciting. And I'm one of the new people on Women Ed. I can't remember. I've been here for a year and a bit, I think, about 18 months. And when I joined, we had 3 campaigns. I just need to reduce this so I can see the words. So the first campaign that we had was to have increased representation in leadership roles. And as Vivian just explained, that's how Women Ed first started out. And then there was some work on reducing the gender pay gaps. Just if I go back to this one for a minute, Vivian shared some data the beginning of this week about the fact that representation at a leadership level continues to be a challenge for all of us, and there is still a gap. And as long as there's a gap, then this has to remain one of our core campaigns. The other bit as well is the fact that we've got a gender pay gap at a leadership level, because one of the things we find very difficult to do is to negotiate our salary. And of course, once you're a head teacher, it's up to you to negotiate your salary based on your performance management. So that's a really big challenge. Our third campaign was to advocate for flexible working practices, because obviously one of the best things is the fact that we all have other commitments, but it does mean that when it comes to flexibility, it really impacts on whether we can get leadership positions or not. And I'm really proud to say that from today, we are going to be starting a fourth campaign, and our fourth campaign is,
Drum roll.
yay, increased representation of BAME women in leadership roles. So this is something that I've been really pushing for, because I'm very conscious of the fact that there's a very tiny minority of us who get to become school leaders. And it's got to stop. We need to level it out, and we need to see greater representation of women, of all kinds of women in leadership. So we need more women leaders, and we need more BAME leaders, and we need more BAME women leaders as well. So this is our fourth campaign that we're going to be working on this year. We have been looking at diversity, and we've been having some really big conversations within the team about diversity in leadership. So it's not always going to be working at increased representation of BAME women, but actually looking at increased representation of diversity in leadership. But it feels pertinent that this is what we're working on this year, and then next year we'll expand it out. And Vivian's going to share some more information, really exciting information later on about where this is going to start from tonight. What are we actively going to be doing from tonight? Okay, so those are our four campaigns: increased representation in leadership roles, reduced gender pay gap, advocate for flexible working practices, and now increased representation of BAME women in leadership roles. I'm so excited. And there we go.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Alison. It's really exciting and something that we're all very passionate about. And so I can't wait to see how that will come. And I know it will bring confidence to people.
Thanks, Maha.
Yeah.
And Sandy Tomlinson. Oh, yay. It's going down well. I'm really glad you're happy.
Yes, well done. Thank you. Kezia, we are going to go over to you to tell us all about our blogs and our books and something else beginning with B.
I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so I don't know how to make that any bigger. Well, maybe this. There you are. Right, okay, so it all started a couple of years ago when we thought that after the unconference that we held in Sheffield at Sheffield Hallam University, you know, why don't we have a go at writing a book? And there are a couple of publishers that we considered working with, and we ended up going with Sage, who are now called Corwin. That's their sort of their education wing of the publishers, and we have the lovely 10% Braver, and after the success of that, and reflecting really on the successes and the sort of the conversations we were having at the unconferences, and reading through the blogs, what we gained a sense of is that so many of us just had stories that we wanted to share, and even more of us had, you know, a desire to listen to other people's stories and other people's experiences. So we approached Sage and said, look, we think there's another book in this. Being 10% Braver is the result of that, and the manuscript has just gone off. It's with its copy editor. It's a little bit scary because we're all English teachers and now they're checking our spelling, punctuation and grammar, but hopefully we'll pass that test. And it has to say that the chapter submissions are really delightful. Some of them are funny, some of them are sort of moving, some of them are upsetting. They explore where women have succeeded in the face of adversity, when difficult things have happened at work, juggling a life and a career. And for those of you that can see me, you'll notice I have a 13-year-old behind me pretending to do her homework this evening. So we're just coping with that, really. But really, it covers a huge range of different experiences from people around the world. And we're hoping for a December 2020 publishing date, so you can pre-order for people's Christmas stockings. It will be very exciting, and just thank you ever so much, everybody that submitted. So many people volunteered to write chapters, and unless we wrote something that was probably the side of the Encyclopedia Britannica, we did have to narrow it down a little bit this time. But a number of the sort of the original submissions that didn't make it into the book have gone onto the blog, so you can check those things out there. Our blog previously was hosted on a separate site, but it's now completely integrated into the Women Ed website, and sort of we post things out is sort of as often as we get them, really. Sometimes we have like a little spate where we get quite a lot, particularly maybe at the start of lockdown, when people were a little bit bored and a little bit fed up. But we was always looking for blogs. People say, I don't think this is very good. I don't think anybody's really going to want to watch it or read it, rather. And then you just see, you know, hundreds of hits, and the sort of the positive comments are really supportive and delightful. So if you're the sort of person that's never written a blog before, or if you've written hundreds of blogs, or if you just would like to share your voice to that, then please do so. And if you email Vivian, then she'll stick it up on the website, because she's clever like that, and frankly she's the only person who writes to the website, because we're not to be trusted. So please do that, and we'll really love to see it and really love to hear your voices. I don't know if we have a third book in us. I think that there is a third book in Women Ed, but frankly, I think me and Vivian are close to just collapsing. It's quite intense, the editing process as we go through it. But watch this space, and if there's a big demand, we may come out of retirement. It's all very, it's quite difficult when you're sort of trying to lead a school in challenging circumstances at the best of times, let alone at the moment. So trying to fit it around that can be quite difficult, but we will have a go if you're up for it, everybody. I think we're being turned into an audiobook, which is a little bit weird. We won't be voicing it. I think they're going to pay for an actor. Obviously, I'll be done by Dawn French, because that'll be, you know, glamorous. I don't know what's going to happen there, to be honest. And I think you can also buy it as an ebook on Amazon. So for anybody that doesn't want a book in the traditional sense, then feel free to do so. This is my copy of the first book, and when we published it, instead of me signing it as an author, I asked everybody that sort of I came into contact with, that sort of I met over the launch weekends, just to sign it, and it sort of goes on a little bit, and it's one of my most favourite memories, and if nothing else, it's been a privilege to put some writing out there into the public domain for everybody. So thank you ever so much, everybody. And that's me for now, Jules.
Thanks, Kezia. And I know, obviously, if everybody had been like me and written quickly and seamlessly, then you know, it would have been an easier job. Say no more, Vivian and Kezia say. I was like the worst person to contribute to books. I'm like a sixth former that refuses to do her work until midnight, the day before deadline. But thank you, Kezia, for that. And the books are just fantastic. And I know one of the things that Vivian always talks about is wanting to have more of a reach, because a lot of us are on Twitter, but we want to reach out and find more women that aren't on social media so much, aren't on Twitter. And the books really do that. I've met many of people that have come to me and they've known about Women Ed not through social media, but through the book. So that's fantastic. So thanks for that. It was something we're really proud of, and it's a great legacy, I think, for Women Ed. Liz Free. Now, Liz, I'm astounded. So talk about Kezia doing this amazing, running a school in challenging circumstances and writing books. Liz is running schools, getting new jobs, moving houses, moving countries. It's all incredible with young children. So she really shows what Women Ed are capable of. And Liz is going to talk us through our world domination, basically, which is our global network and community. Over to you, Liz.
Hello, hello. I'm going to attempt to do that. Here we go. From the beginning would be fabulous. So hello, everybody. First of all, cheers. Happy birthday. From the Netherlands. So we're an hour later, so we're allowed to. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the journey. And like Alison, I'm one of the relative newbies. And I've been working with some of the teams in Europe and Asia. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But just for entertainment value, we're back. Our schools are back in the Netherlands. So if anyone wants to talk social distancing or anything like that, let me know afterwards. It's all good fun. But anyway, moving on. So less than 10 minutes, we're going to do this. We're going to talk exactly about global domination, the plan, how far we've got. We're going to think about the education landscape as it stands, and then start to think about Women Ed around the world and what does that mean. And that will build on some aspects we were talking on about the different campaigns, and obviously the launch of the 4th campaign today. So that was very snazzy, wasn't it? My daughter's been doing PowerPoint at home, which is why we've got this weird stuff going on. So I've got 2 children who are 6 and 9 who are very entertained by this stuff. So I thought I'd start actually with, I've seen some of the videos and the clips produced by people today that have gone out and have been amazing around what Women Ed means to them. And so I thought I'd start. This global journey began in a really dodgy Greek restaurant on the South Bank. I don't know if you remember that, Vivian.
Oh, I do, and it was Italian.
Oh, that's even better. It was actually the quality of the coffee obviously gave it away. But we were on the South Bank, and I've known Vivian before I moved to the Netherlands. I work at the British School in the Netherlands at the moment, although I'm about to move on to be a CEO in Switzerland. Woo! But anyway, parking that. So we were in London and we were catching up, and then Vivian told me it was I worked it out earlier, Vivian. It would have been in late 2016. We met for this dodgy coffee. And when you were telling me about Women Ed, and I thought in my career, you know, I've had headships across the world. I had an extraordinary global career in education. And I thought, actually, there's not a problem here. And then you challenged me quite rigorously, shall we say, and challenged some of my thinking. And I went away, and like you do, Vivian, so well, is you've kind of planted those seeds and got me thinking. And I started to do a little bit of research, and that's going to kind of take me on to this kind of next step. And when I started to look at some of the research in the field, I started to identify that there was an issue that I didn't even know was an issue. And therein lies the issue itself, is that there's a veneer of equity, and yet in reality, there isn't. And that started to become really, apart from obviously the pay issues and all those issues, in terms of being able to have a global profession that meets the needs of our young people, is if we're not realizing the potential of that profession, then we're doing a disservice to the young people that we serve. And so I started to look at it more, and I you know, all the OECD data, you know, 2/3 of the profession are women, and yet they make up half of school leadership. And then I started to do more reading, and I thought I'd do a little bit more this morning. So I've got loads of time at the moment. So like I said, I'm moving in 4.5 weeks to Switzerland, but this was clearly a priority, global data on women in education leadership. So I just thought I'd share this with you to give you an idea of what it looks like around the world. So I live in the Netherlands, where 38% of principals are women, compared to a population where 68% of the teaching population is female. Now let's go to Vietnam. 29% of school principals are female, and the overall figure is generally around 66 to 68% of the population in these countries. Shanghai, we hear a lot about Shanghai, 45% of their population in terms of principals are female. What about Australia? I don't know if we've got Australia in the house. If you have, wave your hands. And actually, as I'm going through these, and we're going to be talking about the global growth of women ed, it would be great to know about some of the countries that are represented here at the moment that we haven't talked about, because we know you look, we watch you, we know you're there. So then we have Australia, 40%, South Africa, 36%, England, oh yes, 41%. Kazakhstan, we're going to come to Kazakhstan in a moment, 53%, which is interesting. But then, like all things, there are anomalies. And then we look at somewhere like Sweden, 69% of the principal population is female, compared to 66% of the teaching population. What is going on in Sweden? If anyone knows, let us know, because it's fabulous. And so when I started to look more, this is a global issue, a global challenge. And when we look at the 8 C's of Women Ed and the now 4 campaigns, there's resonance right across the world, wherever you are, whichever continent you're in. And so this has started this kind of journey that started through this Twitter conversation, started through this when you said tea party, was it an actual tea party? Or was there the odd glass of this involved?
No, just
it was
tea.
a proper tea party. I'm very impressed, everybody. Most unexpected. And so we moved to the kind of the rise of the Women Ed movement globally. I start to think about, what does that look like? And so I'm going to show you, and Vivian I think is going to do a little bit more on this afterwards as well. So this is how it looks at the moment. Now, I had a whole debate. We were talking about diversity and representation earlier, and it's really interesting, even with maps, you know, how do we represent? When I first did this, Europe was in the middle, so I've moved it, which now makes it all a bit weird because we've got North America twice, but that's okay. But we can see across this, we've currently got 19 countries represented in 29 networks. But the good news is that it's about to become 20 countries and 30 networks. Go back, don't do that yet. Ah, woo, go do woo, thank you. So we're about to launch Kazakhstan, and this will be the first time that we would have launched a country in the domestic language. So it will be launched in Kazakh and Russian, which I'm gonna have to do a bit of work on that myself. But this is what we want to do, is to create, is to connect women and men across the world that are interested in realizing the potential of our global profession, and then identifying the issues which are common and the issues which are different, and to learn from each other. And so this diversity and representation is really important in our communities, and that includes language, ethnicity, gender, all of these different areas. So we're really interested to explore that more. So hurrah for Kazakhstan. I've got to learn how to say that in Russian, but anyway, we'll move on. So what can you do? This is what we want you to do, is to carry on the global conversation. The fact that you're here means that you're engaged. And I noticed when I was looking at some of the messages before I spoke that I saw Spain was in the house, Czech Republic's in the house. I think I saw some others as well. I think I saw Middle East and North Africa is in the house. So this is an amazing opportunity to connect across the world. And so use this as an opportunity to learn from each other, and also to move the movement on so we affect real change. And then that's it. That's all I got.
Oh, Liz, thank you so much. It's so exciting and just slightly overwhelming, really. I'm a bit speechless about how Women Ed has gone global, because I don't know about anybody else, Samina and Vivian and Kezia, when we first started, whether we just never imagined it would go so global. And you know, and having you join us, and Alison join us now as strategic leads is just an absolute pleasure, and we're very proud. So thank you. And Kazakhstan,
Unbelievable, amazing.
And my Russian is, I'm going to practice Russian now. What's that? There's an app, isn't there, where you can do languages in 24 hours or something? I'm going straight onto that. Was it Duolingo? They reckon
it's amazing, but it's painful. I'm doing German at the moment.
Oh, really?
It hurts. It hurts.
Give me a week, and I shall be fluent in Russian. No, very, I definitely won't be, but I shall try. It is my turn now to talk about one of our sort of specialist groups. So we go global and we look at countries and we have networks, but we also have some specialist ones. We have a lovely book club, which many of you will have seen, but we also have Women Ed Tech. and I want to talk to you about Women Ed Tech when I can get my slideshow up and running. So let's have a go. See, I'm always very aware that I am the one that is doing Women Ed Tech, so it's all going to go horribly wrong for me. But no, here it is. So I wanted to talk about Women Ed Tech, and the idea, this is Women Ed 2, so we are part of Women Ed, but particularly in the tech industry, it seems very male dominated, and also the image of what ed tech is very male. And certainly I've experienced, I know the team in Women Ed Tech have all experienced to different varying levels, where you meet people and they go and they try to explain to you about the tech. So you're sitting in a tech meeting and they try to explain, assuming because you're a woman that you don't know anything about tech. So, and also how many different areas of tech there are. So for instance, I identify my area of expertise within ed tech is assistive technology. So because I work in inclusion and literacy and SEND, so assistive technology, and that's me there talking to the lovely Aisha for the Chartered College of Teaching. They've done a tech course that you can go on, and then this was us, this is Kirsty, myself and Buki on the left there, at Schools and Academies show, talking about how we can empower women to become ed tech leaders. So it's still very much about leadership, and we were really clear about that. Women Ed, when it was set up, we were very clear, everybody is welcome, but it's, you know, it's that idea of being an aspiring leader. Now you can be a leader in a classroom, and you can be an executive head teacher and still be a leader. We can all be leaders in different ways, but certainly in tech, it's getting to those decision-making positions in tech that we're really keen on, and also raising the profile so women feel that they can join IT teams. We were also looking at the entrepreneurial side of EdTech, which I'll talk a bit further in a minute. But let me introduce you to some of these wonderful people. So there's one of my favourite pictures there is of Buki, Ranjit, Neelam, Claire and Kirsty, who all went to the BET show this year. I was unable to go, unfortunately, but they did us proud, and they were on panels and talking and, like I said, making noise, which is what I really love about Women Ed and Women Ed Tech in the same way. So here we've got Claire, who's head of digital tech at the Brighton Hills School, and that's her meeting the Minister of Education at BET. She won an award for her mental health app. And then Neelam Palmer, who I call the queen of panels because she always gets those comfy seats. See, when I do panels, I get those cheap plastic chairs, but oh no, Neelam, there's another picture of her in a minute as well with the comfy seats. So that's my aspiration, to be on a panel with plush seats. So there's Neelam there. And then the wonderful Buki, who is also a Women Ed network lead, as well as part of Women Ed Tech. But she does all sorts of things. She's co-chair of the DFE's Digital Strategy EdTech group. There she's with the lovely Ty Goddard, and she was a judge on the EdTech 50. So we're there, we want to inspire women to be part of tech and feel that they're welcome in EdTech. And this is Buki telling us all about that.
Being part of Women Ed Tech has allowed me to utilise some of the skills I developed as a senior leader in charge of the implementation of mobile devices on a whole school basis. And it's my hope to encourage and allow more women to develop within the educational technology field.
Thank you, Buki. And this is Claire, the wonderful Claire, who is as bright in character as she is as her headband.
So, what has Women Ed Tech done for me? Well, it's helped me communicate and collaborate with other Women Ed Tech specialists. It's built my confidence in terms of introducing me to people who can advise me on leading on EdTech strategy. And also I've been able to share my skills and hopefully build the confidence in others to try my ideas out. I've been challenged to be 10% braver, to take that leap, to progress my career, to go on certain courses, to be bold enough to have conversations and just, you know, remove my imposter syndrome. And ultimately, Women Ed Tech is challenging the status quo, you know, encouraging more women to come into the Women Ed Tech community, profiling achievements and ensuring equity, transparency and diversity. So happy birthday, Women Ed, and thank you, Women Ed Tech and Women Ed, and it's fantastic, great stuff.
Thank you, Claire. And yeah, I must say that, you know, Claire, like Buki, has been with Women Ed from the start, so they are very much part. Now, this is Neelam also giving us a message.
Hi, I've been asked to introduce myself today and let you know what I think, or how I think Women Ed Tech has helped me. So my name is Dr. Neelam Palmer, also known as Neelam. I work as the Director of Educational Technology, Digital Learning and Innovation at Ashford School, and I also support a group of schools within the United Learning Trust in terms of EdTech. I sit as a member within the DFE EdTech Leadership Advisory Group, and I also offer my services. So what do I think Women at Tech has done for me? Well, I think Women at Tech is a great platform. It has given me a diverse group of friends, new perspective on life, made me that 10% braver. It's been a barrel of laughs. And also, I think most importantly, it's opening up new opportunities for others and gives us that support network that we need. So overall, it's just been engaging, motivating, supportive, and, you know, just really great in knowing that you have someone there at all times to help shape that path for you if and when you need it.
And I think that's a really good point. You know, I've often found that Women Ed is partly about those conversations that we don't hear all the time, those DMs in Twitter or the phone calls, you know, the little text messages or the emails, the support. And I've certainly really benefited from those. Here are our two other members of Women Ed Tech team is Kirsty, who's the principal of Shireland Technology. She's just amazing listening to her and what she's done for her schools with regards. It's a complete tech school, so incredible to watch. And the lovely Ranji, who has done Seek colouring books, which if you don't know about them, they're brilliant. And she's been very much part of our entrepreneurial side of Women Ed Tech. So all part of Women Ed, but also Women Ed. And here's just another, I just wanted to show you some real pictures of us being visible, because I think part of this is seeing people in the crowd, you know, seeing panelists that are diverse and women in tech, so that other women really can feel that they are part of it, that it isn't just a male, all male scene. And that's what we do. So we do it very loudly. And so we are here to stay. I just wanted to say that women are in ed tech. There's Neelam on plush seats again, notice. And also just to show Claire as a TED talk. So some real 10% braver moments for us there. And we know our onions, you know, so please don't underestimate women when you see them in tech meetings. Don't assume that you have to explain to them certain things. Finally, I have a lovely announcement to make, and that is that we have partnered with Lift Lessons, and they have enabled us to be able to do Women Ed Zoom and webinars for another couple of months at least, hopefully further, and we're hoping to do some really exciting things with Lift. And so this is Andrea just talking about how Women Ed encouraged her and her partner to start up Lift Lessons.
Happy birthday, Women Ed, and congratulations on an incredible 5 years of changing the world. Our company, Lift Lessons, wouldn't be here without the amazing Women Ed community. Lift Lessons started at the BET Show in 2019, watching a Women Ed Tech panel. My co-founder, Caroline Shaw, and I were both working as teachers at the time, and we had an idea to create animated videos and digital resources to empower students with the language for learning. It was watching that amazing Women Ed Tech panel that inspired us to create our company. The values of the Women Ed community has helped to shape our company. We read 10% Braver, Inspiring Women to Lead Education as soon as it came out. And reading it has helped to shape us as leaders and to build a company that puts students, teachers, and our team at the heart of everything we do. The 10% Braver motto has helped inspire us to make big leaps and do things that we never dreamed was possible before. Collaboration has been central to our approach, and we feel so lucky to have had all of the advice from Jules and Bookie throughout our journey. They're two of the most amazing people we've ever met. With the help of everyone who we're collaborating with, we feel so fortunate that in only our first 6 weeks of launch, our resources are already supporting students for free in 22 countries all around the world. We are committed to diversity and inclusion as a company and want to grow in our ability to provide employment and training opportunities which positively welcome young people with learning differences. Leaving the classroom and starting this company was the hardest thing we've ever done. And we are so grateful for all that we've learned from the Women Ed community that has helped to carry us through this journey. and allow us to create a social enterprise that is dedicated to always providing free access to our resources to all families and schools who cannot otherwise afford them. Thank you so much, Women Ed, for everything you've done to change us and education. You're such an endless source of inspiration.
Oh, I was so happy to get that. And so we are delighted, an ethical social enterprise, Lift Lessons, and we are really excited that they've joined us. They've also said that they're going to help us with an animation, so we're very excited about that, and they are going to help us develop our website. So thank you so much, Lift Lessons, for that. I just wanted to show you this picture. I put some of these arrows there because this was actually at Betts. And these this was Buki, myself and Neelam were doing the panel, and we took a picture of the audience, and just there with the arrows you can see Andrea and Caroline. So we'd never met them before, and so that was the beginning of our lovely relationship. And so it was really good to see that, as my daughter's at the front there looking bored. They're actually listening, promise. But it was brilliant. And they said, you know, that meeting us there, being visible, making noise, was how they made the leap into starting their social enterprise. So it's very exciting, and we're really pleased to have them. Thank you for listening to my talk on Women Ed Tech. We are now moving over to Queen Vivian, who is going to talk to us about some other exciting developments.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jules. That was super. I loved hearing that video from Lift Lessons. It's amazing.
It was really exciting. I'm very excited for them.
All right, have you got my screen there?
Yes, we can see.
Wonderful. I'm talking about community and commitments, but first of all, if I can have a few minutes, I want to say what Women Ed has done for me personally. Some of you know my story, so you'll know what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway because I'm Queen Vivian. I think that Women Ed saved my life. When Kezia and Jules and I were ranting that very first weekend when the idea of Women Ed gave birth, I was on my settee because I couldn't get off my settee because I was still recovering from chemotherapy. And I wasn't really quite sure what I could do as an educator anymore, because I wasn't sure I'd ever be strong enough to do anything. But oh my goodness, that day actually got me off that settee, and I rushed upstairs and I wrote a blog about the whole discussion we'd had. And it was the first blog I'd ever done for Staff Room, ever. And within 3 days, it had 3,000 views, which told us that something about what we were ranting about was important. And that gave me my mojo back. And I suddenly realized there was a lot of things I could do to help people have a better experience in leadership. So I just want to say a personal thank you to everybody in Women Ed who really helped me. And I also want to say that, you know, I wrote half a book. I edited half a book with Kezia. And I've never said it before, but I'm going to now because they're probably not listening. I used to work at a university, and when they first employed me as a school leader to help them in their school leadership department, they made me feel really small because I didn't write articles and I didn't have a PhD. So I just want to say, no, I write books. Up yours. Okay, community and commitments I'm talking about. Okay, here we go. Not going. Why isn't it moving on, Jules?
Keep going, I think it probably will. Maybe just press it a few more times. If not, you might have to come out and try again. I'm just drying my tears, Vivian.
Oh,
Made me cry.
You can't have a Women Ed event without tears. Is Carly there? Carly, what's the cryometer for us so far?
You make me cry and then you make me laugh with your up yours.
Well, they were unpleasant.
Right, we could try. I reckon if you try again, it'll probably work. If not, we can always go down that screen. Won't be the end of the world. Oh, yeah, I know what's happened.
I know why.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm with you.
When we practiced, I think. Yeah.
Right, so I'm going to share the same thing that Liz shared, but for a specific reason. So here are all our networks. I'm wondering if I can do an even better thing than Liz did and zoom in. Oh, I can do tech as well. There we go, we've got them all in. That is phenomenal, and I'm going to add Kazakhstan immediately after our party is finished, if I haven't drank too much by then. These are our current networks.
Vivian, we can't quite see them. We're still on your PowerPoint.
Are you? All right, never mind. Well, you saw them when Liz did hers. I can't do tech, obviously. Trying to come out of it, but it's not letting me.
Yeah, you can. I think it's just it would have gone onto your internet bit. So you could come out of it and go onto your internet, or just go straight to your PowerPoint again.
Go straight to my PowerPoint. Thank you. Okie dokie. So I was showing you all of those networks for one specific reason. As you heard at the beginning, and many of you know because you were there with us, we didn't really have any plan for Women Ed beyond to celebrate the voices of women on Twitter and let them hear. So the growth of Women Ed has meant that the team of strategic leaders is almost catching up all of the time with what you were all achieving and doing. And we shared a blog a couple of months ago where we said our vision seems to be running behind what you are all doing. So what we wanted to ask people to do was think about the fact that we've got a little bit of a misstructure, a little bit of unbalance in the work that we're doing. So what we're trying to clarify now today about our whole wonderful community is that we've got a team of strategic leaders. You know, and these are highly efficient, expert, amazingly brilliant women leaders who model effective everything all of the time. We model that you can, what's your phrase, Kezia and Jules? You can fuck it up lots of times and it doesn't make any difference. So we're the strategic leadership team. We've also got regional leaders, particularly in England and in Canada, and we've also got country leaders pretty much everywhere else. So we've got to catch up with what's happening. So that's our vision. We need strategic leaders to work with country leaders, who then work with the regional leaders in their countries, who are the closest people to where women live and work, and can give the support for individual women. So therefore, we've realised we've got a gap. So we're announcing a new network, a second network today, which is Women Ed England. We haven't got that at all. We needed music over this. I wasn't tech enough, Jules. We're announcing a new...
There we go, sorry.
You could sing for us, sing over the music. We're announcing a new network, Women Ed England, because we realise that the strategic leaders of being Women Ed England, apart from Liz, and also trying to be strategic and pretty much not always managing all of it. So we put a call out to network leaders for who wanted to be part of Women Ed England. And so we are delighted to say that Ruth and Claire and Christella and Paula and Victoria and Amanda are going to be the new Women Ed England team. Woo! Can I see lots of woos on the chat, please?
Such a fantastic group of women.
Aren't they absolutely amazing? And I know their current networks in England will be really disappointed that they're not going to be quite as integral a part of the Southwest, West Midlands, London, Northwest and Yorkshire and Humber region. But what this does, of course, is bring England, finally, Liz, in line with all the other countries around the world. And this is the team that from now on, or once we get it going, because we'll want to support still, will be the people who are supporting and connecting with the regions of England. We've worked out those connections and we'll put it out on Twitter. And we're so looking forward to supporting this team to have a brilliant, brilliant countrywide network. And thank you so much for putting yourselves forward. You're amazing. And what that means we need to do is to give much more clarity for all of our country leaders and our regional leaders as we continue to develop our structures. And we will try and keep up with what you are all doing out there. So what we also want to do is be very clear in our commitment and expectations for all leaders. And we've been working on that. We'll send it out to network leaders shortly and be grateful for your comments and response in that. And we also have an absolute commitment to our 4 campaigns. And because of that, particularly for the UK only, but you never know what happens in Women Ed, do you? So at the moment, just for the UK, we'd like to announce one of the ways in which we're going to stick to our commitment to our 4 campaigns. We have developed a partnership with the National College for Education, who run master's programs for leaders, senior leaders on the leadership pay scale, and who also combine that with apprenticeship. And we are doing with them a pilot Women Ed cohort. And we really want this to be something really positive and vital for all of our network leaders. The even better news is that it's a fully funded level 7 senior leadership masters as a Women Ed cohort. It's going to be funded through the apprenticeship levy. So you and your school will pay absolutely nothing for a leadership masters. And you are going to be enveloped and, I was going to say swamped, but that might not be a word that attracts you to it. You are going to be enveloped by the love of Women Ed facilitators and Women Ed designers of the curriculum. So you're going to be in a master's program that actually understands there are challenges and barriers for women leaders, and we're going to support you all the way to solve those barriers. Well, actually, kick them into touch, basically. So this is the year of being 10% braver, as Kezia said. It's a fully funded program. You will want to know a lot more details, and we will start putting those out on Twitter and in the blog and our website. But for now, that's the link to contact the National College of Education and start talking to them about the qualifications, the expectations, the length of the program, and basically be 10% braver and apply, everybody. And we hope the important news is that what we're doing is reserving 20% of the places on that cohort for BAME women leaders. So this is going to support all 4 of our campaigns. We're going to have more representation in leadership, senior leadership, because of this program. We're going to ensure those women negotiate their salary throughout it. They're going to advocate for flexible working practices, and we're going to have a cohort that includes 20% BAME leaders. Are you hitting that apply button already? You'd better be, because that's what we want you to be able to do. And that's our commitment to you as we move forward. Thank you very much, Jules. I hope that's useful. It was about Women Ed England on the whole, but that shows what we're trying to work on globally, and who knows where that's going to take us in the future.
Thank you, Queen Vivian.
I've got a crown.
We need a crown. Where's your crown? Go and get it. She's off to get her crown. She does make me laugh and cry, and I think I haven't shared what Women Ed has done for me, so I'm going to share that before we move on to Samina, just very quickly, and just to say that oh, there it is, there's the crown. Oh, brilliant, I love it. Just to say that it's taken me on a real journey in the 5 years that I've been in Women Ed. I've had some real high points, and then I've had some real low points. I had huge low, you know, this time last year it was very low, and it was the Women Ed community that really supported me, particularly Samina, Kezia and Vivian. And there was a time when I did actually say I shouldn't be part of Women Ed strategic leads anymore.
Bollocks!
And Vivian literally did say that to me. We were Skyping and she went, "I'm not listening." And so she wouldn't let me go, and actually it's what I really needed at the time. So we lift each other up and we support each other, and that in good times and bad times. So you know, I think it's really important to say that you know, if you're not feeling that you're in a good place at the moment, Women Ed is still there for you. We're there to celebrate with you, but we're also there to commiserate with you and support you. But it does get better, and I love that saying that I found through Women Ed, which says, you know, don't judge me by my successes. I think it's Nelson Mandela, judge me by the times I got back up. And that's exactly what's happening. And I've got back up at the moment, and you know, and things are great. But I was a very low point for me. So, and it was Women Ed that supported me. So that's what Women Ed has done for me. And I'm in a much better place now for that. We are moving on to our final strategic lead speaker, Samina, before we all get back together and answer some of your questions and have another celebration before we finish. Samina, over to you. I must say as well, Samina, Ramadan Mubarak to all of those that are celebrating our holy month. But I know you're particularly, you've got no drink and food till
9:05.
Yeah, so this is more challenging for you than all of us. So all credit to you for that, Samina, and Eid Mubarak to everyone for the weekend as well, and to you.
Thank you, and Ramadan Mubarak to everybody, and Eid Mubarak for the weekend as well. If my voice does get dry, it's because I'm fasting, so thank you. And I also wanted to say thank you to Jules and Alison, because they both fasted with us last weekend as well, didn't you? So thank you very much for that appreciation. So the title of my talk is, Are We There Yet? And I think it was Jules yourself that came up with that title, because we're celebrating the 5 years that we've had together. But have we achieved what we wanted to do? I think the answer to that is very simple, that no, we're not there yet, because we've heard all the campaigns that we still need to do and the work that we need to continue as part of Women Ed. But just first, happy birthday there. But I wanted to just share a sort of corset look at what's happening in current affairs. And I often do this, and it's sad in many ways that I have so much information that I could always use. No matter, whenever you ask me to do this presentation, there's so much in the headlines. So I don't know if you came across this. It was around the Nobel Peace Prize in economics, and it was given to this professor, but you can read it yourself. It says Indian American MIT professor Abhijit Banerjee and wife wins Nobel in economics. So she's just a wife, but actually this woman was absolutely amazing, and she's the youngest ever woman to actually get the Peace Prize. So you can see that we still have a long way to go. So Esther Duflo is the name of the wife, but so we're still often seen as an appendage to either our fathers, our husbands, our partners. It's just not good enough, really. And then this is absolutely amazing. I came across this a couple of days ago. It was a tweet that Anne Moroz from the TES tweeted. And it's around, who's got hay fever? Anybody here got hay fever? Well, now you know, I'll explain to you why you've got hay fever, because apparently urban town planners made the conscious decision that they would only use a certain tree. So it's called the deodar cedar, and they only use the male variety. They decided against using the female variety because it sheds seeds and makes a mess. So all over England in particular, well, actually it's the world, because this article is around California. They planted all these trees that was just a male variety, and what happens is that pollen just collects and it causes bad hay fever amongst those people that suffer. So again, it's really important as teachers that we need to make sure that our young people are prepared for all of these professions. I don't know if you've seen this article recent. There's actually been quite a few articles. Coronavirus is really having its impact in terms of academia. Research by women academics has plummeted, and we know why, because they're actually having to juggle many roles, looking after the children, teaching. Basically, there's very little time left for them to have that space and time to do the research work. And this has just got worse over, you know, the last few months because of coronavirus. So again, it's always chasing, trying to get that level playing field so that we can actually make those, the impact that we want to. And then this one, I was absolutely gobsmacked to read this, but in many ways, not surprised because we keep coming across these. That the PPE equipment, which is short supply, as we know, certainly in the England context, but actually it doesn't fit the women when they do get hold of it, because it tends to be made for the average 6'3" guy. So even when women do manage to get hold of the PPE, it's not actually suitable for them, and it doesn't fit as well as it should. So you can see this has massive consequences in terms of safety for women. I don't know if you've seen this clip. I'm going to try to play it, but again, we're still told to mind your tone. I did have it embedded, but it went, so I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and hope that this plays. So bear with me.
Hi, I'm Alex Hooker. Frontline workers, like me, have had to watch families break into pieces as we deliver the very worst of news to them, that the ones they love most in this world have died. The testing strategy has been non-existent. Community testing was scrapped, mass testing was slow to roll out, and testing figures are now being manipulated. Does the Secretary of State commit to a minimum of 100,000 tests each day going forward? And does the Secretary of State acknowledge that many frontline workers feel that the government's lack of testing has cost lives and is responsible for many families being unnecessarily torn apart in grief?
No, I don't, Mr. Speaker. I think that I welcome the Honourable Lady to her post as part of the Shadow Health Team. I think she might do well to take a leaf out of the Shadow Secretary of State's book in terms of tone. I'm afraid what she said is not true. There's been a rapid acceleration in testing across over the last few months in this country, including getting to 100,000 tests a day. We've been entirely transparent on the way that has been measured throughout, and I have confidence that the rate will continue to rise. Currently, capacity is 108,000 a day, and we are working to build that higher.
So you can see that not only is this lady, for those from an international context, she's an MP, Rosina Ali Khan. She's actually also a practicing A&E doctor, so, and she does work at the weekends. And she is being told by the Secretary of State for Health to mind her tone, even though she actually knows what's going on and can talk from absolute experience of the issues in the front line. Now, just bear with me because I'm not sure how to get back to. There we go. Bear with me. And then for those of you, I'm going to give you a little bit of exercise for you to do. I hope this video plays because all of us are suffering from the COVID-19 situation. And I want you to watch this video and make a few notes in terms of how the Prime Minister of New Zealand responds and how our lovely Boris Johnson responds. And I just want you to use some adjectives to describe the words that you can hear.
Don't work as well, perhaps, as people think. We have, for instance, 9 million protective masks already here in New Zealand, should we need them.
Reports that some NHS trusts are running out of protective equipment has caused huge concern.
Due to shortages, we would now have to share masks.
We're still and will continue to track and trace every single one of those cases. We know where they came from, what links to overseas travel, who those individuals were in contact with. So that if someone in that contact group then has COVID, we can continue to trace the line of how people came in contact with it.
People were transferred from hospitals into care homes to release pressure on hospitals, but without being tested first. So they were, in effect, carrying the COVID-19 into places where there were lots and lots of vulnerable people.
Every person entering New Zealand will be required to self-isolate for 14 days. These are the toughest restrictions in the world.
Still today, you can continue to fly into the UK with no checks, no measures, no screening, no tests, and no quarantine.
Apply a simple principle. Act like you have COVID-19.
I was at a hospital the other night where I think there were actually a few coronavirus patients, and I shook hands with everybody.
Because we believe that decisive action, going hard and going early, gave us the very best chance of stamping out the virus. And it has. We have done what very few countries have been able to do. We have stopped a wave of devastation.
Because I know there will be many people looking now at our current success.
Britain is on track to record one of the worst coronavirus death tolls in Europe.
So just while I get back my PowerPoint, you can see the actual consequences. It's not just really around women leading in this particular context, although this is a similar theme that we're finding across the world. So again, you may have come across this article in The Guardian on the 25th of April, talking about the fact that women leaders globally seem to be doing a better job. And actually, if you Google it, there's lots of articles on this particular topic. And I personally don't think it's just because it's women leaders, because it's about the fundamentals that are beneath that. But there is serious consequences of the decisions that we make when we select. So in England, we've got, I don't know what the death toll is today, but we've had, I think it's around about 35,000. And if you look at the research behind that, and you're talking about these particular qualities that are coming through in these countries where they've had low levels of death as a result of coronavirus, resilience, pragmatism, benevolence, trust in collective common sense, mutual aid, and humility. And they're all seen as common features of the success of women leaders. But it's not, as I've already said, it's not because they're necessarily led by women. It's more about the fact that those countries actually give women the platform and the more equal and give them the status and positions of power. And of course, we've talked about some of the research previously as well. And if you look at the McKinsey report, where diversity does actually give us lots of benefits, you're not speaking just to the same people. And that's why, as part of Women Ed, we do want to increase the diversity of women leaders within education. So if you can hear those diverse voices, you're going to get different perspectives and obviously learn from one another. So overall, so being a woman doesn't necessarily make you better at handling a global pandemic, but women generally have to be better in order to become leaders in the first place, which will have a consequence. So it's quite interesting just looking at the situation in New Zealand, and I'm sure you could read this yourself, that those criticisms that are levelled at women, that you're not aggressive enough, assertive enough, or you're too empathetic. And that is often seen as being weak. But actually, this woman is somebody to be totally, you know, a fabulous role model, that you should be compassionate and you can be strong. And I should have mentioned that at the beginning, it's Mental Health Awareness Week in England. And one of the key themes this year is around kindness. And I think what she's able to show, and many others, and if you think of actually the German Angela Merkel, I mean, she's got a PhD in chemistry, and the way she explained, I don't know if you've seen that video, the way she explained the science behind coronavirus in a very simple but on an equal level to people in the population rather than being patronized. So that kindness is something that we really need to think about, and that compassion. So what I would say is, you know, never mind you know, the labels that we're thrown at us as females. I think we should keep being assertive, keep on leading, keep telling the truth, particularly in this situation that we're in at the moment. Keep taking up space and keep asking hard questions. And most of all, be yourself. You're beautiful that way. You don't need to be anybody else. So I just thought this is a lovely gift from Twitter that is really about all of us supporting one another. And finally, I'm going to end with this lovely quote from Harriet Tubman. You have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. So let's do that. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Samina. What a wonderful quote to finish on. And it does feel that, you know, in our own way, we are changing things, making noise, taking up space, like you say, and not watching our tone. That's just an unbelievable. I know particularly when I speak to women of colour that tone is something that comes up over and over again.
Every day, Jules. Every day. If you just on the point of making, if you're just on the point of being right, it's amazing how quickly the rug gets dragged underneath you and you're told either you've got the wrong tone or it's not the time. There is a whole range of there's a whole range of ways in which people choose to put you down, because and then that's when you know that actually, do you know what, this person isn't ready to hear us. This person isn't ready to make that table long enough to include everybody. But I heard a great quote today, and it was, I'm tired of being asked to be invited to the table, so I'm going to set up my own table. Love that.
Yeah, because there is the quote, isn't there, from, I can't remember who it was, but to pull up a chair, you know, that if you're not invited to the table, pull up a chair. But actually, I like the idea of creating your own table.
I'm tired of putting up a chair. I've been trying to pull up a chair for, you know, all my time in education.
Yeah.
Time to start my own table. And that's what we've got to do. If people don't want to hear what we've got to say, then let's make our own table.
Yeah, love that.
I think the other thing for me, which I should have said as part of the input that I've just given, is that as teachers, we are in such a privileged position that we have young people that we can actually teach and make the world a better place. So you know, everybody who's here today, they can actually make sure that within a generation. So if I go back to the talk at the beginning, you know, in terms of, are we there yet? We're nowhere near there. And we know that we make one step forward and it's 2 steps backwards. So we have a long way to go. But the hope is actually not only in terms of what we're doing in education, but actually with our pupils. So please empower your students, teach them, you know, about equity, and make sure that they come out in the world as, you know, lovely citizens that do value those values that we espouse in Women Ed.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention, if anybody hasn't seen, because we do have a sort of unofficial hashtag of gendered cheese, don't we? And actually, so if you see anything, particularly the things like mind your tone, then do tag it with the hashtag gendered cheese, and you can, it's quite amazing going through from small things like the Monopoly board.
Like that, Angelina.
Yeah, but to really big things like tone, you know, so all those hashtags, do tag them gendered cheese, because it's been a very good way for us to collect, but from serious ones too, you know, like you say, representation, and yes, gendered cheese, Deborah Kemp has asked, with the hashtag. So just have a look at that. There's some amazing stories there of what people are doing. So I've really enjoyed listening to you all, and we must say happy birthday again. We've got a little bit of time to, we wanted to finish at 7, so we did want to go through if there's any Q&As, if anybody's put any questions and answered. I have made a few. One of the comments, Kezia, during your talk was when the second book is coming out.
It should be December this year.
Great. So in December, we hope to see the Being 10% Braver. That would be amazing.
There's a few questions hanging on the question and answer sessions, if you want me to go through those, or if you can see them. A couple of people are asking what the sign-up link for women to receive the leadership coaching via Women Ed. Is that on the website, Vivian?
It's not via Women Ed. It's via all women in the country. You just have to search for Coaching Pledge TSA. The Teaching School Council runs it, but lots and lots of the Women Ed community are coaches on it.
Right, so they search for Coaching Pledge TSA.
TSA, yeah.
Okay, that's lovely. And then obviously somebody wants to know where they can get a 10% Braver t-shirt. Well, we have got quite a lot. They want a bit mental, but they're all in size medium.
Yeah, they don't fit anyone. My daughter.
Yeah, and the medium is tiny.
No.
I'm wearing a medium. And
we will look at you know, all sorts of different options maybe in the future. Palm is asking, can non-England based people get the funding for Women Ed, and do you have to be on the leadership scale? Vivian?
You have to be on the leadership scale, number 1, and my understanding is it's UK wide.
Okay, so Mary's question about the Women Ed cohort for leadership open to people not an SLT but want to be, it is, you need to be on the leadership scale at the moment.
It's to do with the amount of time that your job specifies you should do. So if you're on a 1265 contract, it means it doesn't apply for the apprenticeship funding.
Right, okay.
But I have to say that I raised this, and I think we need to keep raising it, because we're all painfully aware, I know Jules joined in the conversation as well, about the huge number of women who are doing leadership, but they're either on the upper pay scale or they're on TLRs, and it's completely unfair. We know that there are leaders who are not on the leadership pay scale, and we need to find a way to be inclusive and acknowledge the amazing work that people are doing, despite not being on the leadership scale. And it would be awful if they are denied the opportunity to take part in this kind of study because of an administrative setup in their school. So
it's not an administrative setup in their school, as it were. Obviously that they're not on the leadership pay scale is, but it's the apprenticeship levy that drives the nature of the funds.
I completely agree, Vivian, and it's not about the partnership that we've got. but it is about the administrative setup in individual schools. And we need to look at a way of getting people who are doing leadership to be able to be acknowledged that they do leadership, irrespective of the number on their payslip.
Absolutely.
We'll keep working on it. We know
School, doesn't it?
So,
so it sometimes links to the size of the school. So I've worked in a really big school of 2,500. So the salary might not go on the leadership and management scale, but actually it's higher than somebody on the leader and management scale in a smaller school. So I think that's quite an interesting one that maybe, but it's linked, like Vivian says, is for us to put pressure on the people that do the apprenticeship levy, possibly.
No, I don't think it's the apprenticeship levy. It's that to put pressure on in the schools. So if their salaries above the leadership scale, we'll put them on the leadership scale then.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's about access to the apprenticeship levy rather than any judgments upon whether you're a valid leader or not. It will just be about where the money's coming from. Of course, when I win the Euro lottery tonight, I'll pay for everyone to do that. And then we just got another question, probably the last one, and if everyone can have a little think of an answer, and it's from Lynn, and it's, what would you say to female colleagues who say women ed is not my brand of feminism and wrongly hold the impression that it is anti-male teachers? Would anyone like to go first with that one?
Kezia, you always give a good answer to that, because we get asked that a lot.
It's for everybody, and there's no one fit. It's like saying jumpers are not for everybody if they don't come in a size 14 or something. It is about supporting women. We're not anti-male teachers, we're not anti-anybody, we are pro-everybody. What we have done is we've noticed that there is a mismatch between the number of women that work in education and the number of those that reach leadership positions. We are trying to uncover all the reasons why, and then when we know the reasons why, we're trying to overcome them. And a lot of that is about women knowing that they're not alone, and men knowing what they can do to support. We are pro-children, we are pro-education, we want to be brilliant role models. You can't aspire to be something you can't see, and that's whether you're a woman or whether you have a disability or whether you come from a sort of black, Asian or minority ethnic kind of background, whether you are trans, whether you are gay. If you can't see what you want to be, you will never be. And I think, you know, there's no brand of feminism. Bloody hell, I change my mind 3 times a week on that and most other things like cake. No, cake's always good, but different types of cake are good. So if anybody else wants to say anything, then go for it.
It's a bit like being, it's a bit like saying that you can't support BAME because you're not black.
Yeah.
You know, you wouldn't say that. Of course, you'd say that you'd support people from every culture, irrespective of the colour of your skin. And it's the same with feminism. It's a bit like saying that you support all women, irrespective of who you are. You just want women to have equal access and to have the same opportunities that men have.
Liz, you were going to say something as well.
I was going to say for me, it's around realising the potential of the profession for the benefit of our young people. That's it. Bottom line. And so if we've got particular areas of our community that are not thriving in the way that they should, for whatever reason that is, then we all have a duty of care, regardless of our gender, ethnicity, orientation. Doesn't really matter. We're doing a disservice to our young people. And so I think it's an ethical and moral purpose. And I leave feminism at the door. That is, you know, you can choose to use that language or not, or you can just say that it's about realising the potential of every single person that we have the fortune of having in our profession.
Vivian?
And I think it would be worth reading the latest blog on the Women Ed website, because that's from one of our He for She, our great He for She community, Patrick. And he's writing there about what Women Ed has done for him, and how he's a better leader because he's much more aware of gender equity and the issues that causes and the barriers that can put in place for all leaders in schools. So have a read of that blog. It's really helpful.
I think
it's a comment here, and I'm sorry because it's gone so fast, but somebody said that in their staff room, some of the men farers, I would say, I mean, wow, I didn't know we were that powerful, but actually thinking what it is that they think that we do. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it. All we're asking for is equity, and to make sure that, you know, the pupil population is also reflective of leadership, you know, so that we are, sorry, the leadership is reflective of the pupil population. So we're not actually asking for anything more than that. So certainly have those conversations and find out what it is that's causing the anxiety. Because, like I said, I don't think we're absolutely that fearful or that frightening, really, in terms of people's perceptions.
It reminds me of what Alison said earlier about that, where some people may not be ready for the challenge. I think it is opening up your minds to that. One example for me, I wrote a blog recently on the menopause, and I had a male head teacher write to me and say it was so useful because he knew, he put it into a policy, you know, because I'd given some tips at the bottom. So it is working together as well to ensure that everybody is included within a group, and you know, we need men to be part of that. Just to say as well, we need more women leaders, but we need more male primary school teachers, for instance, or nursery nurses. So it's all about that, juggling it all up and making it equitable for everybody, and I think that's really important.
Absolutely. I think that's it for the questions. I think we've gone through them. Unfortunately, I mean, obviously we're partnering with people, particularly over the masters, but we're not necessarily in control of how anybody can access the funding to it, which is about contracts. If you there'll be all sorts of HR laws and regulations around it, which does make it unfair. If you're not on the leadership spine and that really appeals to you, it's worth having a conversation with your head teacher about whether they can convert your salary into the leadership spine, so they're not changing the amount they're paying you, but the terms and conditions of your contract's different. However, it does mean 1265 doesn't apply. So if they phone you up at 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning, you will have to go into work for a meeting, which is a right bummer. But just bear that in mind. It is something for people that can access particular kinds of funding. It's not for everybody at the moment, but we continue to look at all sorts of different routes of training and provision that will make that better for you.
Can I just say something about that, Kezia? So when I was a head teacher, as soon as somebody led, I put them on the leadership scale. And the money is, it balances out. I absolutely promise it balances out. But what it does for mindset is absolutely incredible. As soon as you put someone on the leadership scale, they start thinking leadership. And it's incredibly powerful. So do the maths. If you are a head teacher and you're managing a team and you've got people who are on TLRs, look really carefully at how that balances out financially, because it does amazing things for self-esteem.
Thank you, Alison. And what a great way as well, a great way to finish this webinar, to be talking about leadership and all those small little tweaks that you can make to shift over and things like that. So it's been a brilliant evening, really celebratory, positive. I've loved the chat and the comments that are popping up on my screen the whole time. So thank you everybody who came today and who has watched. It has been recorded, so it will go onto our YouTube channel. So if you know anybody who would like to watch it, or you want to just get a couple of links or fast forward, then please do that. Remember that we've got a website, womened.org. We've got Eventbrite. It's really worth having a look. There's some great other events coming up on Eventbrite. So look up Women Ed Eventbrite and it will show you all the events that you can go to. Obviously Twitter, but we're also on Facebook. Alison's done an amazing job on Instagram, so we've gone very modern. And is there any others? I can't think of any others on there.
Spotify, we've got a playlist on Spotify
as well. That apparently is me too.
Yes, Alison too. So thank you everybody for coming, and I've got a sparkler which I'm slightly worried it's going to set my fire alarms off, so I'm going to do it right at the end to say happy birthday. So if you suddenly hear a fire alarm, don't worry, it is an indoor sparkler, so it is okay. So hey, look at that.
Cheers everyone. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday, dear Women Ed.
Happy birthday to us.
Bye, everybody.
Look at Luna. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye bye. Thank you, Jules. Bye bye.